Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman, shalom.
Shalom, Yoni.
President and Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva University. We're here in Jerusalem on the eve of Tisha B'Av. Such a difficult and meaningful day for the Jewish people. A few thoughts as we enter this day, in wake of what we're experiencing, in wake of October 7th.
Well, I don't think I've ever felt Tisha B'Av and the eve of Tisha B'Av as much as I feel now. This isn't just about historic loss and mourning. This is very personal. Everyone in this country and every Jew around the world knows someone who himself or herself was lost, was a victim either of October 7th or in its aftermath. Every single one of us is praying for our soldiers. This is a time of profound pain and reflection for each of us and for me personally.
Now, when we talk about Tisha B'Av and the destruction of our temples, right after the destruction came the exile. And there is a feeling that here we're in a different situation. There is hope, there is a vision.
Absolutely. I think Tisha B'Av today is very different than Tisha B'Av in the Middle Ages, for example. We are not in a state of destruction of the state of Israel. We are in the rebuilding. And that is our purpose. It's a very different story. So even after October 7th, when we're thinking about the loss and we're thinking about our hostages that unbearably are still in captivity, we also know that this story is very different because we have the IDF and we have the military might. This isn't a situation of the Holocaust when Jews are defenseless. We know how to protect ourselves, and we have the God-given blessings of a strong army and military resources, not just defensively, but if need be, to carry the battle forward.
Now, on a spiritual level, as we sit down on the floor and pray the prayers of the keynote of Tisha B'Av, what should we think ahead as we rise up from the floor?
Yoni, it's a very important transition from the morning to the rising up in the afternoon. There are two passages that relate to waiting for salvation. One is the Maimonides Rambam talks about in the Yud Gimel Ikarim that I wait for the salvation for the Messiah to come. But Rava in the Gemara in Shabbat teaches us that there are 6 questions that God will ask you at the end of your life. One of them is Tzipita liyeshua, which isn't did you wait for salvation? Did you anticipate salvation? Did you work for the salvation?
Actively.
Were you active in bringing about the salvation? And that is the tkufa, that is the period that we see ourselves in today. We are not waiting for it. We are bringing it and making it happen. So as we mourn the loss of sitting in the morning of Tisha B'Av and we rise in the afternoon, we should gird ourselves to rise up and to continue to move history forward.
So when your students hear what you're saying, students or people that you, especially in the community in the United States, the Jewish community in the United States, and they say, okay, so what do we do? There's so many challenges. There are the challenges in Israel. There are the challenges, of course, anti-Semitism. How do we become active? How do we not just wait? What do you answer?
I talk about we sanctify God's name wherever we walk. We do it in Israel by creating a society filled with our core Torah values and embodied the spirit and the ruach of what we hope to learn from Tisha B'Av. If it was baseless hatred that caused the destruction, we need to build a society with bridges for all Am Yisrael to come together. And outside, especially in the Galut, there's an opportunity now to sanctify God's name in the public square, perhaps like we've never seen in the history of the Jewish people. I see this every day with the graduates of Yeshiva University who enter into the highest spheres of influence in the country. And by bringing our values out to their workplace, to the community spaces, to the public square, they are sanctifying God's name, and we need it today. There's not just anti-Semitism in the world. There's also philo-Semitism. People actually also love Jews. It's an untold story. And by going out and being proud of our tradition, our identity, people like our students are able to make a real difference in our broader society.
You know, as you're mentioning Jewish leadership, this brings me to two events in which we both participated in Washington. A special memorial for the late Senator Joe Lieberman, and also seeing Prime Minister Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of the Jewish state, there at the Congress, right?
Okay, I think as Senator Lieberman is a great example of what an American Jew who's proud of his tradition can do in the broader square. We're actually in the fall opening our new Lieberman-Mitzner Center for Public Service and Advocacy, where we have new scholars, Lieberman scholars, who come to Yeshiva University to study how they can make a difference in the public square, how they can be influencers in politics, in think tanks. That's what we're doing. Like, we're graduating these students to do it. And Senator Lieberman is a great example of someone who is able to achieve it. Seeing the Prime Minister in Washington was a real reflection or inflection moment that the world Jewry should understand, because we've heard a lot about all of the flack that Israel takes. But people should have a balanced perspective to understand the encouragement and support that Israel has as well. And when Republicans and Democrats stand for the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, that is a support that is strengthening our country, strengthening Israel, strengthening the world, and really in support of the Jewish people.
It inspires your students as well.
Absolutely. We see this, and we see this all the time. We are combating, there's no question we need to combat anti-Semitism in America and the world, but we also need to find the opportunities in which we can make our voices heard and our voices have impact and influence.
Okay, Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman, President and Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva University, thank you very much for coming to our studio.
Thank you, Yoni. If I could just close by saying, you know, the rabbis teach us that all who mourn over Jerusalem will merit to see its rebuilding, especially this year when the mourning is so visceral and so personal to all of us. May this be a time that we work together and build to the tkufah, to the period where we see the ultimate salvation.
Amen.